Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. Looks like I'm flying solo tonight, so welcome. Um, don't really have anything super big planned tonight. Just the basic question and answer thing. I do have some questions I'd like to ask the audience though. That I'll do here in a little bit. But I got something I'm going to show a little later on. If there's any folks out here that have a GarageWorks, they might be interested in that. I see a few that I know have a GarageWorks, but anyway, let me do a few shout outs here. We got Thomas Grimm, JJ Woodshop, Dave Krause, Paul Stewart, Glenn Helwig, Leo Steger, Troy Pritchard, Dave Matthews, Dave Clemens, Harnell Media, Landis Stutz, Greg Euler, Becca Miller, George Rothfuss, Rob Schuster, Rob Hampton from Melbourne, Australia. Good to have you on here, Rob. Let's see, Bart Vixel, Mike Heichu, John West, Dale Ludlam, Stephen Toronto, Jim Sinicola. I thought the list was almost done, but it keeps going here. Larry Duggar, Chris Copanil. I hope I'm saying that right. And Carl Whitaker. How you doing, Carl? Welcome, everybody. I want to ask y'all some questions here, just to get some feedback from y'all. How many of y'all out there that are watching right now are brand new to CNC? Maybe haven't even got one yet. If you're in that category, put a comment in the chat if you would. And then my next question, and you can put less than 1 year, because my next question is, how many of y'all are in the CNC but have been doing it less than a year? And then, of course, my other question would be, how many have been doing it a year or longer? Just trying to get an idea what kind of skill level we've got out here watching, and it will help me to determine some topics for future shows. Okay, I see we got one that says, let's see. Wayne Hurl says, I'm almost finished with the build. Steve from Harnell Media says, have kit but haven't built. George Rothfuss is acquiring parts. Richard Murphy says less than a year. Okay. John West, less than a year. Charles Lawrence, a few weeks. Okay. Paul Stewart, 6+ years, so he's an old veteran there. Terry Cup, about 4 years. Steven says, I'm new but enjoy listening. That counts, yeah. Greg Euler, 3 to 4 years. Todd CNC says 6 years. I'm trying not to miss anybody. Dave Matthews, about 2.5 years, it says. Okay, so it's pretty even then, it looks like. Carl Whitaker says 2 to 3 years, still learning. Well, you always keep learning, There's you always learning. Making memories with Benji says about 3 years. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like as the list goes on, there's some people that's been doing this at least more than a year. So, okay, that helps. Alrighty, let's see. Troy says, been watching and learning for about 2.5 years in the middle of the build. Yeah. Tom Peterson. Wish I would have known Dave Gatton when I started 5 years ago. Well, I've been around longer than 5 years, so. Alrighty. Okay. So got some folks over on Facebook too. Training the cutter would be a good topic. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean by the cutter. There's Clyde Labonte. How you doing, Clyde? All right. Okay. So there's a lot of folks that have been using CNCs for a while. So I'm trying to get an idea of what to do for shows. We do the show and tell shows, which are always popular. And I love seeing stuff, not just stuff that's people have made on the CNCs that I sell, but just any stuff, says, I think he means tramming. Okay. All right. Harry's been around a while. He started with the shoestring, and that's that's been around since 2014. And of course, I was building and selling the old sidewinders way before that. So Gary Hammett's here. How you doing? Charles, since 2016. Yeah. Okay. All righty. Well, one thing I am going to do, I've got a few of the parts here. I haven't got everything I need yet, and I did a show. I should have looked it up to see when it was. It's pretty old now, so I figure it's probably time to do another one. And besides, I want to build this thing just kind of as a training or teaching tool. But, the biggest thing that people usually have problems with isn't so much the building the CNC or assembling the CNC, depending on, what you're getting. But the problem is always with the electronics. If they're trying to build a DIY CNC, and it doesn't matter whether it's one of mine or somebody else's, the electronics and the wiring and stuff like that always seems to create problems, because I still see a lot of folks having issues with this or that, breakout board or motion controller or whatever it might be. So anyhow, I have planned on, I've got some in the show I'm talking about is and I did it back here. I had right back here on this table, I had a piece of plywood, and it had drivers and power supplies and breakout boards and a bunch of different stuff. And I had a little setup there, and I even had the motors mounted and had a piece of tape on them so you could see the motors turn. But what I'm going to do is kind of build another wiring thing. And again, one reason why people have so much trouble doing the wiring is because there's no perfect wiring diagram that's a one size fits all. It's, different components get wired different ways and act differently and things like that. So even when I do this, it's only going to be good for if you buy drivers at least similar to what I'm using. And I've got the which I think is pretty standard, the DM542 T, I think it is, the ones from Stepper Online, because there's there's a lot of different companies that sell a DM542, but so I kind of call that the standard because that's a pretty basic thing. There's a lot of other numbered drivers too, but would be wired similar to that. But just showing folks how to get from a power supply to the driver and where the wires go after that and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try to throw one of those together here in the near future, and we'll kind of have that as a like I said, kind of a teaching tool, I guess. And from time to time, we'll bring it up and show it again when there's some folks that have questions with the wiring. Okay, so yeah, Dave says he remembers that show. Yeah, I probably, of course, I'm not going to try to sit here and wire it and do the show at the same time. I'll have probably most of it, if not all of it, wired ahead of time. But we can go through and I want to do it a lot neater than what I had the last time too, because I had it kind of willy-nilly, because that's how I do things. And in fact, that board that I'm talking about from that show, that's actually running my Gatton CNC right now. It's the one I use. And no, I didn't clean up the wires. It's all still spaghetti looking, but I know where they all go and what they do. So that's all that matters. But yeah, I'll try to make this one a lot more organized and stuff and use that for a training tool. All right, now let me ask, how many folks out there, I know I saw at least a couple, how many folks out there have a GarageWorks CNC? I'll give y'all a second to, Carl says bell and whistles are nice, but can cause many headaches. Yeah. Well, I think, I've become a fan of bells and whistles. I didn't used to be. For years, I ran my old Sidewinder out there in my shop. I didn't even have drag chain. I just had the wire. Of course, that one had a 40 by 26 cutting area, so it's not like it was moving around a whole lot, but the wires stayed out of the way, and that's all I worried about. And, no touch plate, no e-stop, no limit switches, homing switches, none of that stuff. Okay, let's see. I see some GarageWorks folks coming in. So there's 1, 2, 3. Okay. There's at least 3 of y'all in here that have GarageWorks. Well, I got something. You want to stick around because I got something I'm going to show you that I've been kind of toying around with that you might be interested in. All right. Well, here's a question here. Masked Pirate asks, what's the difference in the GarageWorks versus the Gatton? There's a lot of similarities, but they're also, different as night and day as far as I'm concerned. The Gatton is probably the more popular of the two, simply because it's a do-it-yourself kit that you can build from the parts kit that I sell. It comes with the detailed plans, but the way it's designed, you can make it bigger than what the plans call for within reason, and you can make it smaller. So that's one reason why it's so popular, is people can get it and they can kind of build one that'll fit their shop. The GarageWorks is a steel frame, what I call a rolling chassis. It comes with enough stuff to make a rolling chassis, and then the end user adds their own table, spoil board, whether they want to use the T-track or whatever kind of hold down method they want to use. The drag chain, limit switch, all that stuff they can add if they want, but they get just the basic rolling chassis from me. The difference with the GarageWorks is whatever size you buy, that's what it is. You can't make it bigger or smaller like you can the Gatton. So that there's no doubt in my mind that that's why the Gatton is much more popular than the GarageWorks. Troy says, maybe you can, I think he means maybe you can get somebody that uses Girdle or Pi systems that can make up a training board and come on as guests. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've had Ryan Ballard on. He's, he uses the Raspberry Pi. And he's been on a couple of different times, I think, to talk about it. But again, having somebody, it'd be hard for me to say, hey, spend some money and throw together a thing like what I'm talking about doing and then come on and do it. It'd be somebody that really wanted to do that, because it would take, take a little money to buy because with a Raspberry Pi, you still got to have drivers and power supplies and stepper motors and all that. So anybody wants to volunteer for that and do that, I'll be happy to have you on the show. So anyhow, Ash Pirate says, thanks for the explanation. Just wrapping up my Gatton, and it's been an awesome experience building. Yeah, that's the other thing I think is why the Gatton is probably more popular, is because with the GarageWorks, you're basically just assembling. You're watching the build videos, but you're just basically watching me say, well, you put this link screw in this hole, and because it all goes together, everything lines up, and there's not really a whole lot of thinking, I guess, or at least I hope I took some of that out of it. But with the Gatton, you learn a lot about CNC, because as you build it, and especially if you're trying to adjust the size a little bit, which most people do. Plans call for the table to be 48 by 48, which would give you about, 45 inches on the X by 34 on the Y or something. So a lot of people will make the table deeper and wider so that they can cut at least a 48 by 48. But yeah, by the time you get done building a Gatton, you really, and I'm talking about the whole build, the electronics and the whole shebang, you're really going to know a lot about how CNC works. And I think, to me personally, that's a super big advantage for troubleshooting. Stuff like that. When something goes wrong, you probably, that's probably a stupid coupler come loose or something. It's because you put it together, where every little nut and bolt, washer, all that goes. So I think that's a big advantage, because, these other places, and, to give you a good example, I bought that Avid, I bought it at the end of last year and it came in January. But it's a kit, so I just had to look at their drawings. And of course, all their stuff is, online, and you download a PDF thing. But because of my experience with designing and building my own CNCs, that thing was simple to put together. It was so well designed. There wasn't any need to try to outthink the person that designed it and go, well, I don't know why he did this. It's all, it was all very well done and really a joy to assemble. And I think when you build a Gatton or something similar, you're going to gain so much knowledge from doing that it will make you a better CNC person, better CNC operator, whatever you want to call it. and you would probably be able to help troubleshoot neighbor Bob that's got some other machine that he bought turnkey, but he knows how to run it, but he really doesn't know anything about how it works. So anyhow, Bubba Hogue says, sorry, just got here. Can we start over? Okay, welcome to the, no, I'm just kidding. I might have something you might want to see here that I'm going to show in a little bit. I've been tinkering around. I had a request probably a few months ago now. You know how I am. I'm not real good about jumping on something. I just have to get the time to do stuff and have to think about it a while before I do it. But anyway, if there's not any other questions, let's see, I've been yakking here about 20-something minutes. Oh, wait a minute. Keith Painter says, Dave, do you ever clean or filter out your coolant for your spindle? Got some gunk settled in the bottom of my bucket. All right, I'm going to confess. I am the world's worst at maintenance on a CNC. And that's not something I'm proud of. I'm just telling you that's the way it is. But I guess it's because having designed and built it, I don't worry about something messing up because I know if it does, I can fix it. But let me tell you what happened to me. I have one of those, I have the 2.2 kilowatt water-cooled spindle on my Gatton. So I've got a 5-gallon Lowe's bucket sitting back there. I think it's Lowe's. That might be why it doesn't run right. I don't know. Anyway, it's and I've got one of those little spinny things that you put in line, a little plastic thing. Hobby gave me one. You kind of connect it on the hose, and it's supposed to spin so that you can have a sight reference to know whether your pump's running or not. Well, my lines clog all the time too. It'll quit, it won't be spinning. And a lot of times what it is, it's just that the water's got so gunky, it clogs up, you can't see anything, but it makes that thing not spin. And I can grab the two hoses and just kind of shake them and stop. And a lot of times they'll take off spinning. So I know it's running, but, just to tell you how bad I am at the water thing is I have a box. I think it's the box that my oscillating belt sander that I got from Rigid, everybody's got one of those kinds. It comes in a big box. I think I got that box sitting on the floor. Then I've got the bucket, and I've got a little scrap piece of plywood sitting under the bucket. Well, one day I went around there, and I don't go around there very often because it's really dirty back there. I mean, dust and, somebody needs to get a shop back there and clean it up. But I'll do that one day. But anyway, I noticed that the plywood was starting to look wet. And I'm like, oh, nuts. I must be getting a hole in that bucket. So I went and and I've got a little plywood lid that I cut a big circle out, so I just have it setting on mine. And I pulled that off and looked in there, and sure enough, the water level was down a little bit. I mean, it was still covering up the pump and everything, but it was down a good bit. So what did I do? Did I get a new bucket? Nah. I just got another bucket and set that one inside of it. So eventually I'm going to have to pour it all out. But I think what it might be is I used some of that. I bought a gallon of that pink RV antifreeze stuff. And I'm thinking that eventually it'll probably, make the bucket eat away a little hole in it or something. I don't know. But anyway, for whatever reason, it started leaking. But yeah, I have to keep an eye on it now because And what happened is, since I just picked that bucket up and set it inside a new bucket, the water kind of evened out. So it's good for a while. But yeah, but yeah, you do have to clean them every once in a while, and sometimes you have to take. It's good just to dump it out, put fresh water in there. Sometimes it's good to actually take the pump out and try to run some water through it with a garden hose or a sink if you've got one. And another thing you need to do from time to time, and everybody should probably have one of those little spinny things that I don't know what you call them, water indicator. I don't know, water flow meter. Yeah, that's what they're called, flow meter. But anyway, every once in a while too, you can take either a small air compressor and blow them out. Pull both lines off and blow both ways. Or I've even done it because for a while I only had an air compressor and it was around back in the shop, and it pain in the butt to drag all that 50 foot of hose I had on it around. So I ended up buying another compressor. But before then, I had this old bicycle pump, and I would hold that up there and do it. But yeah, Glenn wants to know how many are using RV antifreeze for their coolant. I saw somebody online say that either in Facebook group or on a YouTube video or somewhere. So that's why I got it. But somebody told me that the RV antifreeze is better because, when you put it in an RV, you put it in there for the winter so it stays in there. They said it was better than the regular stuff because the other stuff is more corrosive, I guess. But apparently the RV stuff is too. So anyhow, John's here in the house now. Joseph Santos wants to know if anyone's from Maryland. I haven't seen him here today, but I do know that Ryan Ballard, I call him the Solar Man. He's from Maryland. Larry says he used distilled water and antifreeze. Yeah, you're really supposed to use distilled water, and that's the other thing I don't do. I just use whatever I get out of my tap. So, but I got to tell you, there's been times when my little flow meter has stopped spinning, and I've said this. I say this probably every show. But I don't stand there and watch my machine. I fire it up and I go do something else. A lot of times I'm in the house. Sometimes I'm back here watching it on the camera there. But anyhow, you need to keep an eye on it to make sure that there's something in it. But I've ran mine and I've gone out there and that flow meter stopped. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's clogged up or whatever. And I feel that spindle, and I think that and somebody can prove me wrong, I guess, but I think that really takes a lot for that thing to get pretty hot. Because with mine, I'm using that, I bought that My Sweetie kit. So it comes with that big honking mount, which is aluminum, and then I also have that mounted to a 3/8 thick aluminum plate, and then have that mounted to my Z box. So you've got all that aluminum, or at least I do, and aluminum acts as a heat sink. So I think you would have to I think it would have to go a pretty long time to, hey, there's my Solar Man right there. I didn't know he was lurking in the shadows there. But yeah. Troy says, as long as it is safe for aluminum radiators, I would think that it would be okay. Yeah. Well, I've wondered if it would be better if you could get a metal bucket. I don't know. I guess you could still get those. But the 5-gallon plastic buckets you get from Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards or wherever, or if maybe it's just a leftover, empty 5-gallon paint bucket. They work fine. And if you get a leak, just stick it in another bucket, like I do. See, I'll know when I see that piece of plywood start getting wet again, because it's dried up now. But when I see it getting wet again, I'll think, it's time to either get another bucket or start from scratch and move it all to one. All right. Yacked on here about 30 minutes. I don't guess I've missed any questions. I've been trying to watch some antifreeze talk there. But I'll go ahead and show what I was talking about for the GarageWorks guys. And I may, depending on the interest, because I had somebody ask me, and for those of you who don't know, but the GarageWorks CNC, even though it's made out of steel, it's probably not as sturdy of a machine as the Gatton. And I know a lot of people just, when I tell them that, it blows their mind. But that plywood, the way the design is with the box frame and all that, it's stout. And if you don't believe me, you can go watch the video of me riding on the thing. But the GarageWorks, any machine, no matter whose it is, it's only going to be as strong as whatever the weakest component is on that. And the GarageWorks was never designed to run, big heavy spindle like what I have on my Gatton. Even the full size router, they start getting it. You might get by with some, but they start getting heavy. I had one of the big Porter cables. Trying to think, 7518, I think, is the model number, and it's like 3 horse or something, maybe more than 3. I can't even remember. But I mean, that thing, when I ordered off Amazon, it came and I took it out of the box. I'm like, holy cow! So I had to beef up my router mount for that, and I ran that for a long time before I got the spindle. But anyway, the GarageWorks, the Z-box, the guide rails that attach to the back of the Z-box are just 16 gauge steel. So even though they're steel, it was really only designed to handle the smaller, compact routers. Now, can you run something heavier on it? Yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can. But I always tell people, hey, it's not designed for that. If you want to put something heavier on it, go for it. But that's on you. But if you're careful and you don't try to hog out too much at once and all that, you could do it. I know I could run a Porter cable 690 on mine without any trouble, because I've run it before without any issue. You just have to know that, hey, that's the weak link right there. So you gotta program accordingly. But anyhow, let me show you this thing. I've been tinkering around with this. I had somebody a while back, and they'd asked me about, because they kept saying their Z-axis kept loosening up. So I said, well, other than just, every time you get that plate bent up, selling you a new plate, you know, you could do that, but you're just going to have to replace that plate every while. So I thought, well, I'd try to come up with something that's maybe a little snazzier. And this is a prototype that it's not even finished. I've still got a few parts and things to do on it. But this is basically very similar to what I used to run on my old metal CNC sidewinders that I used to sell back from 2007 to 2010 or so. Very similar setup, only it was more steel, whereas this is aluminum. But I'm trying to eliminate that weak link in the GarageWorks. So this is made, and let me see if I can, I've got some pictures that I can show. Okay, and I'll share my screen here. I took these with my phone the other day. So here is, if I make it, I can't make it much bigger. But basically, you can see that in this picture now that the original Z box is completely gone, which means that 16 gauge plate that was used as the rails, it's gone. And you'll also notice that and I have another picture on, well, I don't know why this thing won't. There's from the other side. So you can see right here, these 3 holes, there were those little V-groove bearings in that side. And as well as right here, there were V-groove bearings in this side. So all that's gone. So this is made to where it will bolt right on. If you look at these holes here, and I'll try to switch back and forth here because I've got these 2 holes here and these 2 holes here. Well, they go through, and again, let me get this picture big, right in here where you attach this top and this bottom plate for this carriage. So this is basically just replaces all of that other existing Z box and all that. Now, like I said, this is a prototype, and I kind of went big on this. If you look close, you can see that this piece and this piece is thicker than the rest of it. This is 1/2 inch aluminum. These other 2 pieces are 3/8 aluminum, and I don't have it mounted in here yet, but there's also going to be right here where these 2 holes are. There's a block that goes on this side that holds the Acme nut. So that and I cut that out of 3/8 as well. But after putting this together, this alone weighs about 6. According to my post office scale, I think it weighed 6 pounds 7 ounces or something. So I thought, well, it's plenty strong enough. So I'll probably leave this as 1/2 inch, this is 1/2 inch, but go down to 1/4 on these 2. But it's very, as you can see, it's very smooth. There's no play in it. And then once you get this bolted to that carriage, it should be way more solid than what the old Z box was. Because the old Z box, as well as the plate behind it, was only 16 gauge. So the box, since it's formed and has formed edges, that really stiffens it. But the plate is, just got that little bit sticking out, and that's what the V-groove bearings roll on. So yeah, that's always been the weak link for the GarageWorks. So I had somebody, and of course that person's not watching. I don't think they ever watch this show. They might watch it as reruns, but anyhow, I had somebody ask me, hey, what can we do about this? And I said, well, give me a little while. I said, I'm working on something, because I'd been thinking about doing this anyway. And this GarageWorks that you see here in this picture, this is, I finally sold the that 36 by 24 that I had as a demo. I was trying to make somebody a deal on it to get it out of my way so that I could build the Avid, and I didn't sell it. And then once I decided I was going to keep it for this project, somebody came up and wanted it. So I ended up selling it. So now this one here is just the little small one. It's the only one I've got left, but it doesn't take up much room. And I'll be using it to kind of test this new Z-axis. So let me put my eyes on here so I can read this better. Ryan says, that's a nice piece of kit there, Dave. Yeah. Jesse says, could I add a tramming plate to it? Yeah, I could put some adjustment screws on it, but they would be mounted to this plate, because this part, oh, I'm not sharing, so you're not seeing what I'm doing here. Okay, now you can see my mouse. Since this bolts here to this thing, to the carriage assembly here, it's stationary, so it doesn't move. The only thing that moves up and down is this plate right here. You can see I got a stepper motor sitting on there, so your lead screw would run right down through there. So and this holes here, I didn't talk about that, but those are 4 tapped holes that are the same bolt pattern as all the, well, it's the one I've been using forever, and it's the ones that all the mounts from CNCrouterparts.com, they all have that 1 inch by 2.5 inch, I think is what it is. But that they all have that same bolt pattern. So, but yeah, I could add a tramming thing on there if somebody wanted one. But the reason I'm showing this is, like I said, I had somebody that was asking about the Z-axis, what could be done and stuff. And I said, well, I've got an idea. I think I'm going to work on this. But I don't even know if I'm going to do this. I mean, I'm going to, I got this one built and I'll use it on this machine. But it really just depends on how much interest there is for something like that, because I don't have a machine shop, and it's very labor intensive to make that. But I'm not opposed to making them if there's enough people that say, yeah, I want one of those or whatever. But they're not going to be like the price of a breakout board or something like that. So just letting you know. But anyhow, let's see, did I miss anything? We're still talking electronics up there. So this is why I need to do that wiring thing, because it's like every show there's always conversations, even in the chat, and it dominates the Facebook group. And it's hard for somebody to say, that gets on Facebook and says, well, I'm having trouble getting my thing going. Any ideas? And, it's hard for people to say, because they don't know what components you have. It may be different than what they have. It's really tough. There's just, like I said, there's no one size fits all wiring diagram. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Bradley says, just when I thought I would go with a Gatton CNC to support a spindle, there's an upgrade to the GarageWorks. Now I have to rethink things. Well, you know, I hate to even say this because I don't know for sure. You know, like I said, I'm showing you some of this stuff. I don't know if I'll do it or not because, again, it depends on whether there's any demand or not. But I will probably end up making something like this for the Gatton as well. And again, you replace with something like this. Let me show it again here. You know, it would be, of course, this one is scaled for the size of the GarageWorks. So it's not very wide. This whole plate is, of course, my measuring tape's not here. I can't remember what that is. I think it's a little over 5 inches, maybe. So it's not as big as the stuff on the Gatton. But if I did kind of the same thing, only bigger for the Gatton, you know, I would make it where it does the same thing. It not only increases the rigidity of the Z-axis, but, you know, you get rid of those, you get rid of 6 of the V-group bearings. And, you know, everything would be just like this. It would bolt to that front plate of your carriage, and then this is what would move up and down. And of course, I can make them whatever height and stuff people wanted. So, but anyway, that's something I'm throwing that idea around. I'm going to be using this one on this machine. And what's funny is I'm probably only going to use this little machine with my lasers, which you really don't use the Z-axis with a laser much anyway, once you set the height. So anyhow, yeah, Troy's already asking, could that be adapted for the Gatton? Yes, it could. It would be a whole different animal, but same basic principle. Rob says that Z plate would look really good on my hodgepodge sidewinder. Yeah, it probably would, Rob. All right, Jesse says he's interested. Okay. No, I missed it. There it is. All right. Well, like I said, okay, Harry says Amazon has one like that around $300. Well, I can tell you, I can't build this for $300. It's just too labor intensive, and I'm not a machine shop. Now, if you want to get the one on Amazon, which is probably made in you know where, more power to you. But I'm just saying. And the other thing about buying one off of Amazon, because I knew people would go, oh, I can find that cheaper somewhere. Well, yeah, you can, but it won't be ready to bolt on. You're going to have to do some modifications, because only I know my bolt patterns here. That China don't know what they are. So, and they're not going to make them to fit that little old machine anyway. So, but anyhow, the rod on this one, Bubba, is 1/2 inch. It's a 1/2 inch shaft. I might go bigger if I do one for the Gatton, but because, you know, again, you know, there's not a whole lot of room here because this whole thing isn't very wide. So 1/2 inch is plenty for it right there. So let's see. Jim says, I would like to get the new metal Z box for the Gatton. Okay, I guess you're talking about one like this. Yeah. Other improvements would be a thrust bearing. Yeah. The motor has some in play and the dust shoe Yeah, steppers don't use those springs. Yeah. Well, there'll be a bearing of some kind in here. Right now, there's just a half-inch hole because I haven't bought any of those bearings or anything. And a lot of times, I don't know how you guys do it, but a lot of times I don't even. In fact, on my Gatton and the garage, the other. Well, let's see. I think it's the same way with that GarageWorks I have out there in my shop. I don't even use that bearing in the bottom. It just hangs down there. If you look at a lot of the other ones like X-Carve and stuff, they don't have anything. That lead screw just hangs right there. So, all right. It looks like I see Jim Johnson. I didn't know he was watching. Yeah, Todd. Yeah. I know if you look at Velix CNC, if y'all VELOX, they are the one that used to be K2 CNC. They used to say, in fact, I used to buy all my router mounts from them back when they were K2 CNC. But anyway, if you go to their website, they have one, and it's about $650, I think, like that. And again, it's probably made to fit their machine. So if you got it, you'd have additional work you'd have to do. So Becca says, Keith Stanford had a question earlier. All right, well, let me scroll back here and put my eyes on and see if I can find it. Okay, let's see. Well, he's asking Troy about a 5-volt power supply. I don't know if that's the question you're referring to. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. Dave, just to clarify, just ordered the Stepper Online kit. Do I only need a bob and USB to parallel adapter in addition? You don't want to get a USB to parallel adapter. Those things are pretty much worthless. What you probably want to get is what I would recommend is get some kind of a USB or Ethernet motion controller. I always you always hear me mention the UC100, and it's only because that's the cheapest of the 3 or 4 that CNC Drive, I think, is the name of that company, sells. And I've had like 3 or 4 of them. They all work great. I've never had a problem with one. But it's just plugs into your USB, and then the other little part that's got all the stuff in it, the magical stuff, plugs up to your parallel cable that will then connect to your breakout board. Yeah. So again, I need to do that. I need to do that wiring thing. So here's a Hobby.
Howdy, folks.
Late to the party.
I'm just dropping in for a few minutes. How's everything going, Dave? I heard about the ridiculousness and the riots and stuff in Atlanta about 15 minutes ago. I just received word that they're starting down here in Miami.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Well, yeah, they and I don't know if they're going tonight or not. I'm not even going to worry about it. I mean, I'm far enough away from Atlanta.
Yeah, same here. I'm 10 miles away from the city, so
yeah, they can do whatever they want. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see if I'm getting. Okay, yeah. So we covered that, I think. Harry says, on my CNC, the box holding the lead screw descends nearly as far as the nut of the spindle. The problem is that this hits the clamps a lot. Oh, okay.
Does he have a long? You mean Does he mean the adjustment knobs for the Z?
Well, I think he's talking about his lead screw.
Oh, the lead screw.
But I would think it wouldn't need to hang down that far.
No.
Is that because it's not going to travel that far to.
The lead screw doesn't move at all. I mean, it rotates, but it doesn't go up and down.
Yeah. All right. Landis said he might be interested in one. Okay, so well, at least I know there's some interest. So I'll go ahead with my R&D, such as it is, and because with this one here, you know, I've been making changes on the fly and changing this and doing that, and I really don't have any, you know, guesstimate of how much time I've got in it and material and all that stuff. So I wouldn't even be able to throw out a price, but I do know just from the materials, from the bearings and just the raw material cost of the aluminum, buying it the way I have to buy it, because again, I'm not a machine shop buying this stuff in bulk, you know, so, you know, if I, and I'm going to do one for this machine anyway, but if I do it and the price is too high and you don't want it, you'd rather go buy the $300 one off Amazon, you won't hurt my feelings. I'm just telling you that if I design one, it's going to be made to fit a certain machine, you know, where you don't have to do any fiddling with it. And,
well,
you know, the price it is what it is. I can't do them for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so, but like I said, if I get one and you go, oh wow, that's way too much, you know, it's okay. You won't hurt my feelings, because I know that stuff is pricey. That's why I didn't design something like that with this machine from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because it would have made the whole cost of the machine. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things people say, well, you could have done this and this, and you know, this would have been better if you'd have done this. Yeah, but I'm trying to, it's a DIY kit. I'm trying to get people into CNC, not, you know,
yeah, not empty their bank accounts.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of other good machines. If they want to spend that amount of money, they can go buy those other machines. I didn't want to try to design one like those other machines. So anyway, let me skim through here. We're about ready to sign off anyway, because we've been here. Ethernet smooth stepper is a good one as well. Yeah. That's actually what's in my Avid CNC. So, this one, Hobby, you're a Mac guy.
Yeah.
There's just, I just don't think you're going to find a whole lot out there that'll run with a Mac.
I forgot the glasses, so.
Well, let me read it. He says, I'm ready to pull the trigger and buy the electronic components for my Gatton build. Are you aware of any controllers / software compatible with a Mac? I have zero experience with CNC software.
Well, the only way to make it, okay, there's a lot of Linux stuff that's available. So you might want to talk with Rob Schuster, is it, that works with Linux? And Mac will easily run Linux. The other option is, and I've run on one of my Mac Minis, I actually have Parallels, which obviously a PC emulator, and I run all the PC stuff without a problem on my Mac. But I mean, in fact, that's how I design stuff on this very computer with Vectric. I have my Vectric in my Parallels program. So it's, I mean, because it's a PC program and there's nothing better out there, really. I mean, there really isn't for this particular use. Yeah. Oh, and Ryan, to answer your question, what's the occasion? My daughter today is having a prom with, they're about 16 kids. outside. They're all on the outside. They're not allowed in the house. They're all social distancing and all that with masks. They're having a blast. They're all dressed up. They took pictures, background, and all that. And well, I was the head chef, and basically, I've got a gaggle of women. Maybe 4 or 5 moms stayed, and they were serving, and they were so it was fantastic. I felt good. Felt very manly.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody running Linux on.
I thought Rob Schuster ran Linux on his.
Well, I mean, he did. I got a comment posted here, but
okay.
he's talking about
Oh,
Corey about running it on a Mac, and of course Hitch has the best answer probably. So go to Goodwill and buy an old PC.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you. I got a couple suggestions for you. I pulled out an old.
Well, now we've got a late entry here. This Andrew Haig says CNC JS is available for Mac operating system.
Oh, there you go. That
will control Smoothie Boards, Marlin, Gerbil, and Tiny G.
Sweet.
All right. Well, there you go, Corey.
And
if you're dead set on using a Mac, but I don't know why you would.
And as you know, Dave, recently I bought a Windows 10 tablet. I made sure it had a USB port, and now it's not for, well, you could use it for designing, but I don't like designing on a tablet. I'd rather have a full desktop. But that's what I test all my boxes with. All the hobby boxes, I pull that little tablet out there, I plug in, and it runs the CNC flawlessly. So.
Yeah, Michael, Becca just mentioned, talk to Chipser. She's talking about Michael Chipser. If you don't know him, he's on Facebook all the time.
He's always got the cheap.
He always has some great deals. In fact, I've bought, well, not just laptops, but I bought a total of 3 computers. One's a laptop, which I'm using to run something else, the CNC. And I have the other 2. One of them, it's a small desktop. I'm using it to run my Avid. And then the third one, I'm running my GarageWorks out in the shop. So, yeah, Michael's always has some good stuff. He, cleans them up and puts, puts the operating system on there for you, and they're ready to go. They don't have all that junk on them, which is great. They run faster than a lot of the newer ones. So be sure and check him out. All righty. Rob said he's got to run, so that means
good evening, Rob.
So, all right, folks. Well, I appreciate y'all tuning in. We've had a pretty decent crowd tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I will keep y'all posted, probably via Facebook, or never know, I might do a video or something on it. But I'll keep y'all posted on the new Z-axis thing. The one reason why I started using 3/8, and then I thought, well, I really wanted to use the half or the top and bottom, simply because when you're drilling and tapping into the edge of a thing, it's easier to find the center of a 1/2 inch than it is anything smaller. So, but and I had a piece of 3/8 out there. That's why I started out using 3/8. But now that I've got this one built, I think that those other pieces could easily be made from a 1/4 without sacrificing any rigidity and stuff like that. So anyhow, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. Hobby, thanks for popping in here.
Not at all. Glad I could make it, just barely.
But yeah, we're going to get out of here, and we will see you all next Saturday, I guess. Anybody, if you got ideas for show topics, and like I say, I've mentioned this probably the last, 4 or 5 shows in a row. If you got a project that you've done and you really want to show it off, or plug your YouTube channel or your business or whatever it is, send me pictures. I'm happy to show them. It doesn't have to be a show and tell show. I said that before, and anytime you got something, you made it and it's cool and you want to show it. And if you want to come on the show and talk about how you made it, if there's a special technique or something like that.
Yeah. Don't be shy. Some of the most interesting shows are with people that we see on the chat room for years, and then they just they share what they do, and a lot of us learn a lot of different things from them.
Yeah. All right, then. Well, we're going to get out of here. I guess we'll just wave kind of like this and say good night.
Night all.
See y'all.